What's going on, guys? It's Mikey from QuickyDFS here with Mitch and Shane to break down the UFC slate for you guys. On the screen, we have Charlie Ontiveros versus Steve Garcia. So, guys, who do you think's going to win this fight? We'll start with Mitch first.
Well, I think Steve Garcia is a huge favorite for good reason. Charlie isn't that great of a fighter. He's had some tough fights, some tough matchups. He does have the reach here, but I do believe Garcia is a big favorite for good reason. I'm not the biggest fan of Ontiveros for the reasons I just listed, so I'm gonna go kind of all in on Garcia, and I agree with the Vegas odds with this one.
All right, Shane, how do you feel about that? What do you think about this fight?
Well, just overall, Steve Garcia, his last fight, it was a good fight. He had some moments in that fight where I thought he may have won a round, but overall unanimous decision. But if you look at his record before that, I mean, he's just been really good. He's just been dominating.
Yeah,
one thing you'll see is the multiple elbows. He's had a few knockouts just by elbows and ground and pound. So I think if it goes to the ground, even on their feet, I think that overall he's just a better striker. And if you look over at Charlie, he's actually coming off a win, but before that, just a tough loss. He got knocked out. He's been knocked out in the past. So yeah, he's actually coming off that loss. So yeah, he just got knocked out. So definitely a tough loss. Fighters change after that. A little bit of a weaker chin, and not from Cleveland, Ohio. It's Cleveland, Texas. So I don't think he's gonna be able to. I don't think he's gonna be able to pull this one out. Again, I think Steve just on his feet might just dominate this one quick and easy.
A quick question for you, Shane. Does it bother you that Garcia has almost fought in 2 years? Hasn't been in the octagon in 2 years. Does that bother you at all?
It can for some people. I think it all depends on the level you're at, right? So these guys are lower level guys, and I think really this fight doesn't go the distance just because there are levels to the game, and I just think overall Steve's got that experience, even though being off almost 2 years. Pandemic, right. People actually might train a little bit harder.
All right, guys, let's wrap that one up. Let's move on to the next one. You got Lupita Godinez, Silvana Gomez Juarez. So, let's have
I think, overall, again, I think that starting with this fight is really important to mention. There's 3 female fights on the slate, and I think that, if you look week in and week out, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's some people don't watch the fights or what it is, but they're really not bet on too heavily. And these happen to be great fights, every single one. So I think overall to get the edge and, maybe get some upside play in tournament, play all of these fights over some of the more popular fights on the card. It's people make a mistake of going for popular fights. I think this is a low-key fight. You may go make a snack real quick, get a drink, but don't miss this one. It's a really good fight, and I actually have Gutierrez pulling this one out, either by submission or overall just the fight stoppage.
So also to go along with that, I'm really excited about this fight because it's Silvana's debut in the UFC. Some might want to take the wait-and-see approach for her. I want to, kind of jump all in before, her name gets out there. So I'm going to take Silvana, actually. And the last fight I watched of Lupita, she did not look good. She fought Penny, and she got destroyed. It was a split decision, but what I watched was not a split decision. So I'm going to go with Silvana on this one.
It's kind of crazy to me. That's her first fight in the UFC, and she's 36 years old.
Yeah.
Never give up.
It's a big age difference there. That's definitely a big age difference.
Never give up.
Yeah, I think these fights are going to be great. I think they're definitely going to be a lot of trading, a lot of significant strikes, and overall, I think it's going to be a good one.
All right, the next fight we have here is Charles Rosa versus Damon Jackson. And so it seems to be that Damon Jackson is the favorite here, guys.
So to go along with what Shane was saying, I can see this fight, turning out to be maybe one of the more chalkier fights on the card. These are names that, the average UFC fan knows. So I could see this fight being a little more, on the chalkier side and getting a lot of attention over some of the girls' fights that, we're going to like. So with that being said, I could see a lot of people leaning Rosa, and I would like to take the other way on that one. I think Damon Jackson could really pay off at his price tag on both sites. I like him.
Yeah, he, just looking, at his past fights, he's at this weight, he's had a little bit of a reach advantage over most of the people that he's fought, and coming in with that foreign reach advantage, almost a longer reach advantage than probably anyone else in the featherweight division, to be honest. So overall, I definitely think Damon Jackson definitely has the reach, but again, I think this is going to be a great fight. I think this is going to be a really close fight. But I do think as well that Damon Jackson's going to pull this one out. Rosa might be a good GPP just because I do think this is going to be a close fight, and he does sneak out the win. That might be a good price within those GPPs. But overall, I do think Damon's going to pull out the win for sure.
So moving on to the next one we have here is Alexander Romanov and Jared Vandera. I think that's how you say his name. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So how do you not like this
Oh
fight?
my God. Look at that favorite, -675. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before.
Yeah. So obviously Vegas is all in, and I believe most people are going to be all in. He's kind of where I want to start building my lineups with. I don't see many ways that he doesn't end this in the first to second round. The way that Jared might find a way is if he can gas out Romanov into the third period, into the third round. Is the only way that I could see maybe Jared producing and giving you what you need. But as far as Romanov, I expect a knockout in the first to second round, and you're going to want that in your lineup. So it's pretty much a lock, and you got to build around him. What do you think?
Yeah, I cannot agree more. I mean, King Kong himself is going to come out. I think it's going to be a great fight. Overall, the only if this fight does somehow go the other way, it's going to be because just of the 5-inch reach advantage, in my opinion, when they're standing on their feet. We know that heavyweights. Sometimes you get caught with that one punch on the chin and you're going to sleep at that size. So 5-inch reach advantage, if he does sneak it out, I mean, that's going to be the only reason. I do think that Alex is a little bit quicker, and I think that on their feet, it's going to go the other way, and Alex is going to knock him out in the first or second round. But anything can happen in these fights. So,
do you think?
On their feet, it's a clear, not a good matchup for Jared at all.
Do you think Romanov will be the highest owned fighter of
absolutely
of the afternoon?
On the slate, absolutely. That's why sometimes those fights, I like sometimes to go one way with the bulk of my money and then play a few dollars in GPPs, and that's what really GPPs are for, right? So sometimes you can go the other way and hope for the best, especially in MMA, just because anything can happen. But I do think, again, this fight is clear Romanov's way by knockout.
All right, guys. Moving to the main card. The first fight is Chris Gutierrez and Felipe Corrales. I believe that's how you say his name. So Gutierrez, El Guapo, is our favorite right here at -260. Shane, how do you feel about this?
Well, in my opinion, again, another good fight that maybe not a lot of people might be looking at. They might just look at this and said, Gutierrez has the belt from his previous promotion, and he's may have more experience overall. But I do think Corrales, if you watched his last fight, his significant strikes were a little bit more powerful. And if you actually look at that fight, he took his opponent down twice, and he also got taken down twice. And there's a little bit of clear, control time on both sides, and equal close control time. But I think that Corrales going to the judges, I actually thought it was going to go the other way, but he squeaked out the win. So he finds a way to squeak out the wins. He's not worried about going 3 rounds. So as an underdog, I do have Corrales. I think that he might be able to sneak out another close fight this time. And I'm going to go with him in most of my lineups as maybe a underdog. But
So that's an interesting take you have there, because I was wondering myself if, these judges now, they kind of seem to take significant strikes into account more than control time. As far as the scorecard goes, it seems that they're just taking, the significant strikes at a higher value than control time, which I don't necessarily agree with, but it's just my observation. I could be totally wrong. So with that being said, though, I do think there is a chance that Felipe could, take Gutierrez down and actually submit him. Is a way that I see the win. But I've watched Gutierrez fight, and he's a monster with kickboxing. He'll kick you in the head. He'll kick you in the calf. We've seen the calf kicks over the most recent fights, how significant those could be, and he is a really good kickboxer. So those significant strikes may outweigh control time or ride time, depending on how the judges value those. And every judge for every scorecard is different. So
what I've gathered between this fight is it could really go either way.
Yeah, I definitely believe so. It's just with betting on MMA, sometimes to take those risks, I mean, you got to look at some underdogs, right? So when we're talking about these, they're very, very close fights, and these are the ones that we're saying, like, yeah, it could potentially go either way. Our job is to go ahead and just kind of let you know a little bit about the background. And again, Gutierrez, he's definitely a lot better on his feet, I would say. But if Corrales can gain some control time in this fight and land the strikes that he did his last fight, we think that he may be able to pull out the win as well. So again, I'm going with Corrales in most of my builds, just as an underdog, and just hoping that he's able to squeak out that win.
All right, sounds good to me. Moving on to the next one here, guys. It is Mariah Agapava. I don't know how to say her name. I'm sorry. Sabina Mazo.
So
I'm excited for this one.
Mazo's the favorite. Sorry for cutting you off there.
Yeah, no. So going into this is another girls' fight that we do tend to want to put some money on here. There's been some bad news coming out of Agapova and her camps, that she's been, kind of bouncing around gym to gym over the past months. It doesn't look, good on her resume. Some of the, people that she's been sparring with have said that she's just a little too intense. She came from The Ultimate Fighter, and she just practices a little too intense for most people. And when you're getting ready for a fight, you don't want to see that. So I don't know how much she's been training, to be honest. If she's been bouncing around from gym to gym and not finding, a good gym to train at, that's never good. And personally, I like the Colombian Queen here. I've seen her fight before multiple times, and I really like her. So that's going to be the way I'm going, and I don't see myself being persuaded anything different. I'm going to go with the Colombian Queen.
Shane?
Yeah, I mean, when I originally saw this and I saw the rankings, I'm like, I guess I didn't realize Agapova was ranked head ahead. Maybe they, they're close, right? I mean, if you're looking at, overall, and
they're both 9-2.
Yeah, and you have to understand that these women sometimes don't even fight in these same weight classes. They, may lose in a weight class, go up a weight class, go down a weight class, and competitive at different weight classes to see what's best for them, right? And that's completely normal. And I think that's part of the process with being young and coming into the UFC is, you have to kind of learn what your body can take, and is cutting weight going to work? Is it not going to work? Do I have to go up? Can I go down? So, they definitely go to different weight classes. I agree. I think Mazo has had the tougher competition from being in a different weight class. And I just have to say, I as well think that she's definitely going to win this fight. I think she just overall just has the more experience.
Now, hearing that Agapova was intense kind of makes me want to play her, just because, maybe she isn't in the camp. She hears people saying this about her.
Yeah.
So maybe she just goes out there and tries to, give her that 1-2 and just knocks her out in the first, minute.
It definitely can happen, right? I feel like in these fights, a lot of these fights too, it can go either way. Something like that can definitely happen. But overall, I think it's more so like, yeah, she's intense, but she doesn't have a game plan. She hasn't been preparing for a game plan. This fight was scheduled over, I think, 7 to 8 weeks ago. So they've had about 5, 6 weeks, 7 weeks to train. And I don't think that she's maybe as prepared mentally to go in here and have a game plan that would fit to beat Mazo.
Okay, I got you. I think I'm definitely gonna throw in her lineup though, just because knowing she's
Got to,
intense.
yeah.
She'll probably be low owned as well, if everyone knows that.
So going on to the next one here, we got Tim Elliott, Matias, Nickalu, if that's how you say his name. I'm not really sure there, guys. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. And Matias is the favorite here, guys. Shane, how do you feel about this fight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good fight. I just think that Nickalu is more so in his prime, and I know that he is coming off some really good wins. So he looks really good. So overall, I think that he's got all of the things Tim can honestly handle. I mean, we've seen Tim fight over and over again, but I don't think that he can outmatch the style of Nickalu.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Tim is kind of a wild man when he fights. He likes to apply the pressure and get you guessing what's coming next. I think that Matias is such a strategic and controlled fighter. As you said, coming into his prime, it's gonna be kind of he's gonna outclass him, honestly, and he's gonna be a lock in my lineup. He's probably one of the fighters I'm most likely to play all over the place as well. He's gonna be a lock for me.
All right, guys. Moving on to the next one, you have Randy Brown and Jared Gooden here.
Wow, what an exciting co-main event! Don't you hear the excitement in my voice?
No, yeah, I mean,
Well,
I think this is I think this is gonna be just a who's gonna get to him first fight, and I think that overall, again, I think Randy's a little bit quicker, has a more good head movement when it comes to the fight. I think that he's light on his feet. He's able to move around a little bit more. Overall, I think he has the experience. So, I mean, I think just his overall athleticism and his speed and quickness. I don't think it's possibly going to go back to past the second round when Jared tires out a little bit. But again, this is going to be another good fight that I'm looking forward to watching. And I in a lot of these fights, I can see the upset just on their feet. But that's the way fighting is, right? But I do think that he's just a little bit more athletic and will get it done and a little bit more durable.
Yeah, so with that being said, Jared Gooden, he's kind of sluggish on his defense. He has poor defense, not good head movement. The one thing I will say about him, he does kind of have some big power behind him. But he's more or less now just looking for that one shot to send you out of there. But he doesn't have good head movement, and I do think Randy Brown will just continuously tag him until he defeats him.
Yeah, Brown is the favorite as well. So moving on to the next fight, which I believe is the last one for the main slate. Yes,
Yep,
it is Marina Rodriguez and Mackenzie Dern. I haven't given a take, but I'm gonna go with Mackenzie Dern. One, she's the favorite, and I've seen her fight before, and I like her fighting style. So, like I said, I'm not the expert here, so I'm gonna let the guys talk about it. And Shane, go ahead and talk about this one right here.
I mean, overall, I can't wait to see this fight. Again, I think all the fights excite me, but overall, this fight is the one that is really going to make everybody tune in, including myself. Obviously, it is the main event, but more so, I feel like one of these women is really going to make a name for themselves after this fight, and we've seen Mackenzie suffer a bad loss in the past, but if you look at her most recent win, she's just really dominant. And I think overall, this fight goes one of two ways. Whoever is able to get whoever down to the ground first is going to have the clear advantage. So I feel like they're both going to do that as quick as possible. The one thing about Mackenzie, she does have some holes in her game when it comes to takedown defense. She tries to use her hips to go ahead and gain momentum, maybe do a toss, maybe do, some type of lateral drop. But when you think about it, she's also been taken down. So, there's some takedown defense issues, and I feel like if Marina does take her down, she can control her. But we'll see if Mackenzie's made those adjustments. I think she has. I know that she's been training really hard. I've seen some film, and she's just overall looks like she's, just doing everything the right way. And you can tell she's, even in her training, she's added some practice to those, clinch moves where she can take someone else down. So hopefully she's got some better takedown defense, but overall I think that she pulls out the win. I think it's going to be by submission, honestly. And just because again this is fighting, so I do think if both of them have shown durability, this fight can go both of them can get 100 strikes, 100 significant strikes. I think that both of them can get a lot of points, but maybe you can even play both fighters if you're not finding a lot of value on the fight. They're both around the same price tag, so I think you could play them both and just hope that it goes the distance, hopes it goes 5 rounds. But I do see Mackenzie winning by either armbar or some type of triangle, whether it's on her back or even standing
so
or sitting.
Is this your favorite fight of the night?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you wouldn't mind stacking both in the same lineup?
Yeah, I mean, for a long shot GPP, I wouldn't mind because I can definitely see it going 5 rounds. Especially if Mackenzie gets her early, she's durable, so she can go 5 rounds and just get tagged at 115 pounds. Like we've seen that. Like, she could take shots. Like that's clear. I don't think that Marina's going to offer her anything new on her feet. I just think like if she has a little bit of quicker hands that night, that Marina's just going to maybe get some of those strikes in, and maybe she does take her down one time and land a lot from the top. But I think Mackenzie will push through it. She's always fought back in those situations. So, for me, I do think it could go that distance, and there might be a little bit of value on both ends.
All right, Mitch, why don't you?
So, just really quick, I want to say I do think Dern ends up winning this matchup here, but Rodriguez is very interesting in both adding both of these people to your lineups. Just like Shane had mentioned, it is an option to do. And Rodriguez on FanDuel, I expect Dern to take a lot of shots here and try and take Rodriguez down. On FanDuel, you get extra points for takedown defenses. That's something that DraftKings doesn't do. So I think Rodriguez, especially on FanDuel, is a good play, and I do see that you could pair her with Dern. Dern's grappling's amazing. Her grappling kind of opens up her hands for her because you're so worried about the takedowns that she just endlessly keeps shooting that it opens up her overhand rights, and it's something to look out for. But I don't expect her to necessarily win by knockout, but I could see a submission or go in the distance here.
Yep.
So, with that being said, that's our coverage of these fights. You guys have anything else to say before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, I mean, I can go ahead and let you, give the listeners just a little bit of insight to what overall my core is going to be, just because I feel like, sometimes you do have to think of where the edge is, and I just want to let you guys know where I'm going, right? So I'm definitely going Romanov, and this is for Maine, which is 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So I'm going Romanov, and then I think Mackenzie does pull it out, and even if it goes the distance, I think she's going to be relying on those takedowns, and those takedowns add up. So I'm going Mackenzie on that as well. I am going with Lupi Gornidez. I do think that she pulls it out too. I mean, overall, that's just some where I'm going. And then just remember as kind of a sneaky play, if you're playing some, multiple lineups and you're just trying to get a good variance of your lines, I do think Corrales can sneak out another win, just another quick decision win, maybe get you 86 points if he wins, 90 points. I don't really think anything more than that, but even if he wins. But for 7,300, he may be a good value to kind of look at. So that's my core, and I'm kind of leaning towards that to build some value.
So that's Shane's 3 plays that we have there. Mitch, why don't you give me 3 plays?
So 3 plays that I'm really high on, and I think that I'll have exposure to is Sabina Mazo. I like her. I'm also going to take Mathis Nickalu. I like him versus Tim Elliott. I think it's time for Tim Elliott to kind of, go ahead and ride off into the sunset and let the new guy come on to his prime. And I'll take Randy Brown as well. I like him versus Gooden. I don't like Gooden's head movement and stuff. I think Randy Brown might be able to catch him.
Yeah, right. So you guys may be able to build a lineup with all that. So if you're building multiple, I would say have some variance in your lines to give yourself a shot. So, but overall, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it, and best of luck to you guys.
All right, guys. Please like and subscribe, and have a good one.